Hi everyone, this is Elena with Glass Factory. We are here today with Quarter, who is in the middle of her first ever Miami Music Week. So I'm super excited to have you here today with us, especially given everything else that you have going on. So can you give us a little bit of background about yourself and then tell us how you got started with DJing and producing?
I started producing, well, I've been producing music since I was a kid, totally as a hobby. Basically, it wasn't until I went to my first music festival in 2014 where I decided maybe I should do this and really take it seriously or create a project. And so that quarter kind of happened in 2015. It was always something I wanted to do and I did as a hobby as a kid, but never thought it would go beyond that. Yeah, so, but we're here now. And DJing kind of, yeah, it happened simultaneously. When I decided to start this project, it was I downloaded Ableton and I got a small Pioneer controller around the same time and was kind of trying to do both.
What festival was it that got you kind of inspired?
Yeah, it was Bonnaroo, the 2014 Bonnaroo. Yeah, it was
Very
amazing.
cool. Was there a specific set or a specific artist that really stood out to you?
Yeah, so I mean, that lineup, the entire lineup that year was incredible. But it was actually this kind of renegade sunrise set that was a back to back between Miha and Skrillex.
Oh, cool.
That was just it was my first time experiencing a sunrise set. And it was outdoors. It was just so cool. And something clicked for me and I was I think I need to I don't think I'd ever heard they were playing a lot of housey stuff during that set. And I just don't think I heard music like that before, or a DJ set like that before. So yeah, something clicked.
Cool, cool. And that's kind of when you know that it's been a minute when Skrillex was still playing regularly.
Oh yeah, it was, yeah, 100%. It was a while ago. Yeah.
No, but that's awesome that that was the experience that really got you into this. So
Yeah.
speaking about kind of where your sound has evolved, so I feel like you have a very unique sound that's kind of very atmospheric, but also very electronic. So you're taking these kind of two very different, it's almost they're on different wavelengths of sound, right? So you're taking those, you're meshing them together. And obviously through your two releases, it's very obvious that that's the sound that you have. So, as you're transporting listeners into a new world with every new song, how did you develop this specific sound?
So I studied film and TV in college. I went to film school at NYU, and I took sound design classes there. And I have always really been into kind of ambient, atmospheric
Mhm.
stuff. And I think when I started Quarter, I was obviously, it was the beginning of the project, so I wasn't entirely sure what it would turn out to be like. I mean, I did my first album basically 4 or 5 years into the project. But even with the EP I released a couple of years in, I was experimenting with this idea of bouncy, groovy dance music, but with a lot of emotionality and a lot of atmosphere. And then I think Drenched, my first album, was me really diving into that and trying to combine those two things as cohesively as possible, or those two kind of ideas. And Drenched, I mean, it's literally, the album is called Drenched because it's drenched in reverb and it's, so I think with this latest album, the evolution is I've been leaning more into percussives and going more into groove, but still trying to keep a lot of that atmospheric stuff, but making it more dance floor ready because I do DJ often. So it's just trying to combine my DJ life and my producer life and get them all in alignment, basically.
Nice. Yeah, that was actually my second question about what influenced the change or shift between the sounds, because you
Yeah.
just said, it's you're moving more towards this very heavy percussives, very staccato with your latest album versus your first one. So That's cool that it sounds like you are trying to intersect like all these like different like passions that you have around music.
No, exactly. I mean, that for me is like the big goal with this project is like, and I mean, and that's what is exciting to me too, is that I know that I'll never reach that like, there's no like destination. It's always going to be like experimentation and like trying to fuse all these influences. And I know it's going to keep evolving. You know, I feel like as a listener, my tastes have evolved so much just
Mhm.
over the course of my life. I feel like I've gone through so many musical phases that
Yeah, yeah.
like inspired my personality and like how I viewed the world. And I feel like I hope that the music I'm making follows kind of a similar evolution too.
Yeah, yeah, cool. No, that's cool to hear that. Like, I think that's the thing, right, with artists is like you do want to change and you do want to constantly push yourself to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so that's cool. And like it's like it was obvious between your two albums that like there is this like natural progression of your sound. I know this last month has been super busy for you. So I know you played at Dirty Bird Campin', you're supporting the Femme House tour. Now you're doing your Miami Music Week debut. You have an EP, Snowfall, coming out tomorrow. And I know you've also been doing like radio mixes and everything like in between. So, and I'm sure you're doing a lot more as well. How are you feeling about all of that?
It's all really exciting and it's all like good stuff. And it's exactly what I hoped this year would look like for me
Mhm.
because I feel like I had my debut album come out right at the very beginning of like lockdown all
Yeah.
over. And, you know, we were all at home for like at least a year and a half. And it felt like I was just starting to like get somewhere and then everything stopped. And so I had been working really hard these last couple of years and I feel like everything is now like culminating into these like tangible festivals and press and all these things that are like insane. I would have never imagined just a few years ago.
Mhm.
So I'm mostly really excited and like it's motivating for me to kind of now I want to like step it up even more and I'm already thinking about a third album and like
Oh, cool.
yeah, so I'm just it's like I want to use this momentum's definitely like lighting a fire under my ass essentially. So,
Oh, that's great. That's great that
yeah.
you're like excited about it and like ready to take it on. Because I feel like for some people, like that can be really daunting to feel like
Yeah.
you're just going like back to back. But that's cool. That's like great to hear that you're just excited about it and ready. And
Yeah, I mean, excited more than anything. I feel like it's normal to have days where you're overwhelmed and you're like, oh my God, what is all this? But I think this was the plan, this was the goal. Like, you know,
yeah.
this was like what I wanted to happen. So I'm just like trying to keep on keeping on.
Yeah, yay. That's awesome. So you are a champion of not only women in the house space, but also of the LGBTQ community. So can you tell us like what this sort of like representation means to you, and then also how you've taken action to increase representation in both of those spaces?
So I'm queer. My You might hear my girlfriend taking a shower right next to me. um, but basically, like the Skrillex and Miha back-to-back set, the reason why I think that was as impactful was I think that was the first time I saw like a woman DJing like that. I mean, it was my first like big music festival, and so I wasn't accustomed to that to begin with, but it was just the first time that I thought, hmm, a girl does that. Interesting. This is my first experience. So, that being said, representation's everything. And so, I all I can hope for is in what I'm doing is that some other like queer kid is going to be like, oh, like that could be me too, or feel the freedom to express themselves in a similar way. And I mean, the way that I'm trying to like low key uplift all my like queer and women friends. And for me, I'm trying to take all these opportunities I'm getting and like sneak in ways to like shout out, you know, like this producer in Portland who I love, like Mirandoja, you know, my friend Coffin Tex in Miami. Like these are all like queer women that I love so much. And they're also really talented. So I'm putting their songs in mixes. Like if someone, like I just did a Mixmag interview and one of the questions was like, who are some, rising artists right now? And I'm like, I'm gonna shout out my friends. Like,
Yeah.
so it's definitely like a very homegrown vibe for me with it and just trying to uplift all these people around me who, I have a lot of queer friends. It's like, we all gravitate toward each other too. So
Mhm. That's
yeah.
cool. And I feel like you are the exact type of friend that like people need in the scene because I feel like at times, especially within like anything creative, like people feel like, they have to be at each other's throats to like get opportunities.
Yeah.
But it's really meaningful and it's more impactful when you have people who like will like say your name or like support you when you're not in a room. So I think that's great that you're doing it. And I think you're like the exact like type of person that like we need more of in this like industry and in the scene and like just
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have been seeing a lot of it recently. Like, I think, especially after COVID too, it's like, are we going to do the rat race thing forever? Like, let's support each other. We're all going to benefit from that. And so yeah, if there's anything I want to do, I want to be part of that side of things and not the like weird competitive stuff. It's just not, I'm not interested in that at all.
yeah, love that. Love that. So, touching on what you just said with wanting to uplift people, obviously that's part of like Femme House's mission is like
Yeah.
really leaning into like the intersection that like you represent, but also like wanting to uplift like people in those spaces. So,
hmm
what has the experience been like for you to support this tour?
I'm just like LP. I'm so inspired by everything she's doing. It's incredible what she's doing with Femme House and even the live streams and everything over lockdown. It was such a way to build a community. I've met so many super talented like producers and DJs that are women that I hadn't known about before that I'm
Mhm.
now like friends with. I just had Abby Abco came to a DJ Mag event I played yesterday and I met her through Femme House streams. It's so important to have that and to see someone like Leah who has such a platform and could easily just focus on her own act. That's hard enough as is, just focusing on one thing. To be able to like have Femme House and be pushing it forward the way she is at the same time is so impressive and inspiring. So yeah, I feel like I may have went on a tangent and lost the I just got too excited. But oh, I am honored to have been on support for the tour because I just am a huge believer of what she's doing and Femme House as like a whole.
Yeah, love that, love that. And no, it's totally fine if you went on a bit of a tangent. I think Femme House, I first found out about it just a few months ago. So like at end of August, because I had the opportunity to interview LPs. So I was just like, okay, let me like do research and like make sure that I like know what I'm asking. And
Yeah,
that came up and like ever since then, like especially at Glass Factory, we're like, all right, let's like plug as much as we can because
right.
Glass Factory is also like, women owned, like women led, and we do try and like be as inclusive as possible. So trying to support other women or other organizations, even that like have that same kind of like mission and vision in
Totally.
mind. Okay, so I know you've played 3 parties at Miami Music Week so far,
Yeah.
and you have one more coming up this weekend.
So I now
Um,
have two more, but
ooh,
one is a secret. So
oh,
yeah.
okay. Is it
Yeah, so I can't say
tomorrow?
more about it.
Okay, okay, all right. Keep it on
But
the
yeah,
down low.
but it's Friday. So
Okay, so tomorrow. So it aligns with your EP drop.
exactly. Yeah.
Ooh, exciting.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm not gonna ask any more questions around that, but that's exciting. 2 questions. First, how does it feel to be playing your like debut Miami Music Week? And especially having so many parties lined up.
So right before lockdown in 2020, and I was about to release my first album, I had one Miami Music Week show
Okay.
scheduled. I was gonna do, I think it was like a pool party that Galantis was like headlining
Ooh,
or
yeah.
something. and then it all got canceled. So again, it was like one of those things where it's like, oh, it was about to happen. So it is really cool that that didn't happen, so that my first time could be this much bigger thing instead of like
Yeah.
one event. I'm playing five, and I have
Yeah.
all this like, yeah. So it's been it's been chaotic and like a total whirlwind, but it's been so cool. And again, it's just making me so excited to like keep doing it and like keep pushing. So yeah, so far so good. I'm like halfway through now. So
Yay, that's exciting. And that's exciting that you get kind of just like, I've never been to Miami Music Week and eventually I do want to make it happen, but like that's exciting that you kind of can just be like, okay, so I have these scheduled, but like here's another opportunity. So that's cool that you kind of
yeah,
get those random opportunities that come up.
totally. I mean, I think that is what is fun about, or I mean, it's my first time doing this, but it's like it feels like renegade energy. It's very much like, okay, there's another party. Do you want to hop on?
Yeah.
And it's really fun in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to make it to more, man. I think I made it to like one renegade party at like a festival once. And like now I'm at the point where I really have to force myself to stay up until 2 a.m. And like, you know,
Yeah.
I know the
I
renegade
get
party,
that.
it's like 4 to like 6 a.m. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
sleep,
It's
sleep.
a real commitment. The people who party that hard, I have a lot of love and respect for it. I don't think I can do it as often as I used to as well.
No, if I were to do it, I would need to like rewind like 5 years, 6 years.
No, exactly. Exactly.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. What is so when you like are thinking about your live performances, what is like the overall like energy and vibe that you like try to bring?
My thing, especially lately, when I do my DJ sets, and I plan to do live sets soon. I'm sort of working on that right now. I've done them in the past, but I'm trying to build it out. But even with my DJ sets, I'm trying to like go to sort of like a groovy, almost intense
Mm,
place, but with this like lightness and optimism at the same time. Like, I want to play something that's kind of hard, but like people are smiling and enjoying themselves. It's not like a
yeah.
brooding experience by any means. Like, I want people to have fun, but I want to take you somewhere, like I want to bring you there,
Mhm.
even if it's like sort of an emotional place, or like you're dancing so hard you completely lose yourself, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I'm good. Like, I want to keep it light, but still go there a bit.
Mhm.
So I that's if that makes, I feel like I'm being a little vague, but it is like what I've been doing with my productions. It's just trying to take this kind of like atmospheric, light, optimistic, positive energy and align it with some more groovy, bouncy, even sometimes a little dark energy.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
I definitely look forward to being able to experience one of your sets because, like, I no joke. So when I first started out listening to a lot of electronic music, it was like 2014, and I was like super big into like the really heavy bass, heavy dubstep scene.
Mhm.
And of course, over the years, as one does when you get older, like I've definitely gravitated more towards like house, but
Right.
obviously within house there's like all of these subgenres, and like I don't think I've danced more than I have when I was at this like music festival that was like strictly house and techno earlier this month. Like I was
Mhm.
having a blast, it was so much fun. So I definitely think like you definitely are able to capture that kind of like what you're saying with like wanting people to have fun and then like having them lose themselves in the music, and then like maybe it's this like added layer of just like you're dancing for like an hour straight and then like you realize at the end that you're tired but you still have
Yeah,
energy somehow.
totally. Totally. Yeah.
First want to touch on your EP Snowfall that's being released.
Mhm.
So you have your original mix released alongside with three different remixes, and it's filled with like break beats and like these wispy vocals. Again, like very like signature to your almost like otherworldly sounds. So when you think about that track, what do you want listeners to walk away with after they've heard it?
That track, I actually wrote that track like deep lockdown period in 2020 and had been sitting on it. And I didn't put it on the last album because I felt like it was too different and kind of lived in its own space. So I'm glad I found a home for it. But the way, at least it makes me feel, because I think because I wrote it at that period of time, it's very much yearning for euphoria, if that makes sense, like yearning for some sort of like lightness, but there is like this kind of like emotionality that's like bringing you down, but then you're like soaring up. It's so hard to explain sometimes, but I want when people hear it, I would hope that it makes them feel something emotionally. I want it to be like a reflective moment, if possible, when they're listening to it. And I feel like that song in particular could bring you there more so than like get you out of your seat dancing. It's more so like you're like maybe getting lost in your thoughts a little bit while listening to it.
Yeah, I when I was listening to it, it reminded me a lot of how I feel when I'm like watching snow. Like I know it's called Snowfall, but like it does remind me a lot of how I feel when I'm watching snow, where it's like there's like this just like peacefulness that's like
Yeah.
that completely takes over, and it's really easy for you to kind of shut the world out in those moments when it is just super peaceful. And like that's, I don't know, that's like it's like making me like feel something now that it's like really hard to explain in words, but like it makes
Yeah.
me feel like this like sense of like peace, like when I'm watching snow, if I'm like sitting inside and just watching it, like that's
Yeah.
how it made me feel. So
Usually what when I'm naming tracks, what I'll do is like if I start a song and I go to save it, it's usually what I'm feeling it sounds like. So it's called Snowfall because I also felt that way. But I don't know that I like processed it that much. It just like, oh, it sounds like snow to me. Something about, especially those like percolating little synths in the beginning, like there's something about it. I was just like, snow. Usually like for the albums I'll drop, all the songs have different names. And
yeah.
then for as I'm building the concept out, I might change the track name so that it makes more sense conceptually. But Snowfall, this is like rare for me. That's actually what it was called while I was working on it. So that's interesting that you think that.
Cool. I'm excited for people to hear it and see what they think about it too.
Yes, me too.
So you alluded to this a little bit at the beginning, but like outside of all of your like production and like tour work, which obviously takes up a lot of time, you also do film scoring with your girlfriend. Is that correct?
Yeah, so my partner, girlfriend, Bren Harrigan, she is a film director and I helped score a short film of hers and we're currently working on her second short and I'm really excited for that. That hopefully will be done relatively soon. But I also do composing work for a lot of like short form video content and definitely like a big goal of mine is to be composing scores for like, longer form like feature films and whatnot. And it's also like my background in film and sound design and everything. It's one of those things that I think, I find just really fulfilling. And there's so much kind of experimentation and exploration you can do in that space. Like, obviously, I feel pretty free with quarter, but I am sort of, as I go along, it's becoming like more and more like I'm honing in on what the quarter project is. So I feel like with a film score, depending on the film, there's just so much more opportunity there musically. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think audio experience is just as important as visual experience when you
Oh
start
yeah.
looking at like big screen films. Like it's so important. So like this one just popped in my head, but like the score for like Titanic, for example, like
Hmm.
that's like super iconic and like people like recognize it, like recognize songs like from Titanic very easily.
Totally.
Yeah, I think like the whole like audio visual combined together is so important. Um,
Absolutely.
so given everything that you're doing with music, it's like your life is like literally surrounded by music. It seems like
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
So how do you balance all of it? Like when it comes to, because especially because, like you just said, your quarter project is sounding like a specific way, but then when you're like thinking about how you're scoring like your partner's film, like they're very different experiences. So like how do you manage to balance it, or how do you manage to like go between these different areas that you need to bounce between?
I mean, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I will have, a session scheduled and be planning to do something one day, and then I sit down and it's just not happening. Like, I think the best way is having space between projects as much as you can. Obviously, sometimes timelines and deadlines don't allow for that, but it's like very, to me, really important to have days where I'm not working on music and I'm consuming different kinds of art, not just other music to inspire, something, or like, I mean, I feel like I want to be the person who like goes to the museum like on my day off. And I do that sometimes. I'd love to do it more. But I feel like that's so important to the process because especially with as an electronic music producer, you're like you have your kind of you start to create almost like your little toolbox and you can rely on certain things. And I think it's important to like stop looking at the screen, step back and get inspired by more organic sounds or just other art in general so that you can go kind of fresh and try to do something new and not, what you're used to doing. I've said this before in like other interviews too, but it's like I call it like incubation periods where like in between projects you just like try not to work on your craft and just like consume all sorts of different mediums as much as you can.
I think that's really applicable outside of like music as well. Just
Yeah,
taking the time to bring yourself back into the space that you actually like, the physical space that you're around, rather than like constantly looking at like things that you're working on and like
yeah,
looking at a screen and like consuming content that way. Like I think that's really applicable like outside of even music, just
totally. Yeah,
enjoying what's around you, enjoying the life.
yeah. And then you can like go back to your craft and feel like rejuvenated and be excited about it and not just like force something and then not be proud of it.
Love that. Love that. So I do want to be cognizant of time, and thankfully I have gone through all of my questions, minus the last one. So is there anything else you would like to share with us today?
Well, I just had an interview drop in Mixmag. For any reason you're interested in what I'm doing and you want to know more, I feel like that interview is like, I'm very proud of what I spoke about in there. I talk about kind of like artistic mantras and things. We also talk about how my music is like sex music, which if you want to know more about that, you can go to see what that is. But yeah, like if you're watching and you want to know more, I think that interview is like a nice kind of insight into my brain. And yeah, listen to the music and hit me up on social media. I don't know. I'm pretty open. I like talking to people, so.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we will I'll grab the link for your Mixmag interview and we'll link it below this video and like in the blog post that comes out of this. But yeah, other than that, definitely looking forward to seeing what you do with your future, seeing what you do in music. We'll keep tabs on you, and hopefully we'll catch one of your performances soon. I'm
Yes.
out in the Midwest, but I travel quite frequently. So I know you're
Yeah.
in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I'm in Brooklyn. I've been hopping around a little bit, but just hit me up and I'll list you to a show. I'd love to have you out.
Okay, awesome. Will do. So yeah, thank you so much for your time today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of Miami Music Week.
Thank you.
Rock those last two shows. Maybe you have a third one that gets added.
Yeah.
At this point. And also, hey, congrats on the EP release. I'm really excited for other people to hear it and kind of see what they feel about it.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much. This was great. I had a
All right,
blast.
appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
Yes, you too.
Okay, bye.